Hi, welcome to this month's Cooking with Leo. I'm your host, Leo Manahan. If you'd like to watch the show, check it out on Just FM, Just TV, or Just Radio. And check it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I think. All the different social medias. So, with all those shout outs out of the way, let's get started on our dish for today. So today I'm going to do a nice easy peasy one dish braised dish called paella / jambalaya. Now you might know those two dishes are something different, but the origins are so close and so similar that they're more or less just different forms of the same food in different areas. So with that, I'll probably walk you through that as I start just preparing my vegetables, getting my pan hot. So, we're here today. Nice easy braised dish called jambalaya or paella. Those two both. Paella is the first dish, the precursor to jambalaya, and it originates from Spain during, I can't really say what period, but it is intensely mostly just Spanish cuisine. Lots of saffron, lots of natural seafood, andouille sausage, a lot of regional specialties from the area of Spain. As you go around Spain, it varies, it differs. Some places like to use ham, some places like to use crawfish, shrimp, what have you, right? Depending on where you are in the country or what your family likes, what the people you're trying to serve like, it all tends to be a very different dish depending on where you are. So right here, I'm just gonna dice up some ham real thin, add a little bit of saltiness and a little bit of just a different sort of crisp flavor to the soup as before we do it. So with this dish, you're gonna have everything soaking in the oil, your onions, your garlic, your peppers, what have you. You're gonna have that all frying up. And as you do that, then you're going to toss your rice into that oil and all the stuff you're frying at the same time. Cook the rice a little, maybe toast it if you want the caramelized flavor, but for the most part, as soon as you toss your rice in, you're going to start throwing your stock in, which is where a lot of your flavor and your base is going to come from. Because a lot of the cooking time is more to simmer all the flavors and the different sort of stocks and spices into your rice as you cook it. Because we all know it's something like a 2-to-1 ratio for water to rice. So with that much water, you're going to need a lot of flavor, or you're going to cook a lot of flavor in or out of it. So with that being said, I would like to cook a lot of flavor in it. So I'm going to do my best here. So right now we got that oil heating. Just going to get it ready for a saute. So I'm just going to chop all this real quick, get it all going. Have this all ready to go before the oil gets hot. So here I've got some celery, some green pepper, and some onions. In Southern cuisine, or Cajun cuisine, those three vegetables are usually the base of almost every single sauce or stock that you taste. It's called the Holy Trinity in that type of cuisine. In French cuisine, something equivalent is called mirepoix, which is carrot, celery, and onion. And that's normally at the base of, once again, every sort of gravy, every sort of sauce, tomato, what have you, that you use. Your stock, your soups, your stews, all those sorts of things. Just because that combination of the vegetables just adds like a very, very distinct flavor profile that's signature to a lot of cuisine. And it adds a lot of depth to it rather than just flat salt, pepper, or brown sugar or something. You get all the vegetable flavors in there as well that are brought out by cooking. I remember in Portuguese cuisine as well, which is right on the border of Spain where paella came from, there's sort of this whole thing that's very similar to mirepoix as well, and it's red pepper. I think it's red peppers, onions, and carrots as well. And it's very similar. I can't remember the name off my head, but a lot of paella recipes will ask you to make that sort of same combination of vegetables right before you toss it all in. Instead of doing it in dice like this, normally the Portuguese will do their style very, very fine, like almost like blend it up or like food process, very fine. But here I just want to have some nice big bite-sized chunks, so I'm just going to cut it into nice medium-sized squares about that yay big, say about 1 by 1, 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter squares. Just so that everything cooks roughly at about the same time, has about the same look. It's all real easy for you to get onto a spoon, because if I were to cut up a piece of onion for, say, a soup, it'd be very hard for you to eat this, especially on a spoon compared to this. So with that said, I'll leave them on to finish this up. get our Holy Trinity sauteing on there so we can get those flavors going right as soon as we can, right inside of everything. People always have a problem with cutting onions because they make you cry, but really I have more of a problem with Prince because he makes doves cry. So, onions are good for you. Prince, make you sad no matter what. Let me tell you, Purple Rain, don't ever watch that. Sadder than any onion you ever cut. Alright, so now we got all of our Holy Trinities, onion, green pepper, celery, all that jazz. I'm gonna toss that in. Get that all coated in the oil. Now, just gonna add a little salt, pepper, get that coating crisping. Salt draws out the moisture so that it starts crisping and caramelizing faster. Pepper just accents any natural spice or acid that's already in there, especially from the onions. Just toss that around a little more, get that mixed in. And now we leave it for a bit as it gains some color and then we get it into the stock. So, a little bit of leftover onion, just right back in that pan. And that's that for now. So we have our main flavor components all sauteing in the pan, getting all the sugars and juices right into there so that we have that as the base of our flavor. So right now, we're gonna take another twist to it. Another little bit of nuance within Cajun cuisine is the difference between Cajun and Creole cuisine. A lot of Cajun cuisine tends to lack tomato product and usually tends to have a lot less flavoring. Well, because they usually use a lot of cured meats as it is, so they use those natural flavors in it as well. Whereas Creole cuisine tends to use tomato and other spices they add in, like parsley, basil, etc., to complement the flavors. And the real differences are really just, if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure Cajun is more like the rural type of food, but the Creole would be more what you would get in the Spanish Quarter within New Orleans. So you get something between Spanish and French food, as well as, you know, all the people coming in and out from those countries trying to bring the recipes there. So, you know, if you're a Spaniard or you're a Frenchman, maybe you like a little more tomato in your product compared to everyone else. But if you're really like some Louisiana Creole folk or Cajun folk, maybe you're just used to just throwing a few crawdads in a pot with some rice, some veggies, some okra, not really much, and just like your sausage, your andouille, your ham, flavor everything. But me personally, I never learned the difference as much as I should, so I always end up mixing it up, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here too. Put those two together, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of the original paella style too. Because normally, these tomatoes I'm using here are a substitute for paella. When you're making paella, normally you use saffron to color your dish, but since that what they had more in Louisiana and down south is tomatoes and that type of stuff, that's what they used. But since I have the luxury of both of these things, I'll add a little bit of both. Saffron to add a little yellow, and then tomatoes just for the red. Get as much color as we can, as we already got a lot of green from our green pepper and our celery. So add a little bit of red and yellow to it. Should be real nice, especially when that rice gets tossed in there too. Now just dice these babies up. I can't stress the importance of a tomato in a recipe. It's easy, like one of the easiest ways to cheat savoriness in a meal is a tomato, because you've got sugar, you've got salts, you've got all those natural compounds in it that just make up flavor and umami compounds. So really, if you're allergic to this, I feel bad for you, because you miss out on so many things with this. Even gravy can be made better with this. Spaghetti sauce, whatever, right? Alright, next we're going to add just a little bit of citrus to add a different sort of flavor profile to it. So in paella, the Spanish version of this recipe, normally you add a little bit of like lemon juice and lemon zest to add sort of like a bitter and tart element to it, along with all the sugars and all the savory things you already have in there. You just have it so that your mouth isn't overwhelmed with all the oil and grease and meats and all that. You have something that kind of just cuts through it a little more cleanly. Doesn't really stick to your tongue so much. So since we are doing a somewhat Spanish paella recipe, I took a blood orange, so I'd add a nice dark red flavor to it. Color, real nice color too. Flavor's kind of halfway between a grapefruit and like a really, really sweet orange, I would say. So with this, don't think we got to do much, because I'm just going to use the juice, maybe just cut in some wedges here, leave it like that. So we need that. And then same thing with this half. Simple wedges. And then with this, little less of this lemon here, since it's gonna be a lot more sour than that blood orange, and we already got that blood orange. Gonna take a little bit of that rind there. Try to get as much of the white area off as you can, because that's the bitter part. You really just want that really, really nice sort of tart and tangy yellow skin on the outside there, as much as possible. Then we have our lemon zest there. This adds a little bit of color flavor. Once again, a little extra tartness. Toss that in the fry with everything. A little bit of garlic there. And then, here we are. Do this. Add all of our citrus juices to these ingredients right here. These going just like that. You already have a lot of acids and liquids coming in from this garlic, because it's one of the ingredients that's going to burn the fastest when you toss it in. But if I add a little bit of liquid, at least it'll sort of like bind it all together rather than just have it as loose pieces of garlic everywhere. So with that, I'm just going to do this. Make a bit of a paste mixture. Let me re-chop some of these rinds I threw in here a bit. Go chop, 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 chop. Boom. Now that this is starting to gain a bit of color, and now start to toss in my garlic and all my juices and stuff like that. That adds a nice little sweet hint of flavor to everything. So you got the citrus with the oil, the richness of all the flavors already in there. Now you've got a little bit of just bloody orangeness to bring it up. So with that, gotta wait for that to boil a little bit less, but I'd like to introduce y'all to one of my old favorite friends. He who shall not be named, but Mr. JD, the honey whiskey bottle. My best friend since I was 13. Little bit of this, very little bit of this, added to it just to get some of the natural sugars and some of that bourbon in there, a little bit of the honey. But compared to like using wine or something or any other sort of alcohol, you want to use a whole lot less whiskey. Like say, one shot has roughly about as much alcohol as one glass of wine. So if you don't want to throw a whole glass of wine in a recipe, you wouldn't want to throw a whole shot in a recipe either. So you want to toss about half a cup of wine, maybe even less than half a shot when you're using whiskey in a recipe for something like this. So now we're just going to give that all a toss. That a little bit of a smell, little extra, just to add a nice honey caramel sort of flavor to everything on top of what's already in there. Now we're gonna get to work on some of our proteins here. So now that our veggies are almost coasted down and almost being completed, we can toss these meats in without over or undercooking anything. I'm gonna toss some nice slices of, I think Polish sausage that I got from the supermarket here. I couldn't find andouille for the recipe in time, or chorizo, but it's a nice, still spicy jalapeno sausage, so it should bring the same type of flavor profile, I think. So then, from here, cut them all just in thin coins real quick. Here, and I'll show you why they call me the Sausage King of Chicago. Not, but take some of these, cut them in half. Once again, nice soup spoon sized pieces so that you know you can actually manage to scoop some in when you're eating it. And bada bing. Well, at the very least, there aren't too many jalapenos in this. My hands aren't burning while I cut these, so it's not totally torture yet. There's our sausage. And that's gonna add a lot of salt, vinegars, a lot of different preservatives and smoke flavors to the jambalaya as we cook everything up and boil it out. And let's see, anything left to cut? Nope, just these. And before I do our last raw meat on here, and to say that these are all going in the end, might as well toss some of these parsley stems on here. Before I do cross-contaminate my cutting board with raw chicken, I will do my fresh herbs right before. So, parsley, nice, just easy additive to some food, adds a lot of easy color, has kind of a nice, I don't know, soapy flavor. I like it because it kind of cleans a lot of the other flavors you eat off of your mouth, but I really don't know how to describe the flavor of parsley. Enjoyable, but just for looks, I feel. Unless you're one of those strange folk that do like it, like me, guys. Then you're strange like me, so we'll see. Alrighty, so you throw these in with our tomatoes, roughly about the same time. There we are. And what's left? A few of these green onions / scallions for color, right at the end though, so only for garnish. These tend not to cook very well because there's just a lot of moisture, not very much structure to it, so tends to be more just for like a little bit of extra flavor right at the end. At least on the jambalaya, this will still be a nice bright green compared to all the other cooked vegetables in there, which will be a bit more muted after you hit them with heat. But these will still be nice and bright and fresh by the time the dish comes out finished, so a nice little compliment to finish it off right at the end. So with that, give this one more toss. Now it's all starting to caramelize and stick to the pan real good, so crank that down a little. So, a little crispy, but gonna add our chicken, get this all cooling down, a little bit of stock here as well. Get everything just back in there. The one thing you gotta watch with whiskey, it does brown a lot quicker than some of the other ones, especially honey brown, but so if you catch it in time, you can still get it, make sure it's not too bitter, and get it all kind of worked in there properly so it's not scorched by any means, and you just have it all melted in and kind of integrated together as like your sauce or your base. So with that, nice caramelized veggies coming here. We're gonna get our chicken going in here. So, just got a couple chicken thighs I've already deboned here. Just gonna cut them into nice sort of chunks again. Make sure it can still fit on a spoon or something, but just like that again. Nice even shapes, even cooking. And just as well getting that nice chicken flavor in there as well as we cook all of everything up. Some people like to use skinless thighs, you know, so that you have a bit of a cleaner flavor. It's not so much of a sloppy soup. Some people like it without the fat, but I find you get a lot of your flavor from those sorts of things, so I like to keep those on. Maybe it is a little asymmetrical, not quite even if you have a little bit of chicken skin in there, but I find that adds a little bit of appeal. Having some little chewy in there too. See, as we dice our chicken up. So there's our chicken and just a few bones for the flavor as well that I'm going to pick out. I'll turn that heat up. A little bit of salt on that chicken. And there it goes. So while that's all kind of going, before I do toss the rice in the broth, I'm gonna just get some of our accompaniments for this dish going as well. So, if you do know anything about Cajun food or jambalaya paella, you'll notice that I didn't put any seafood in it. I couldn't grab any seafood, so I called an audible and I said, I'm just gonna toss some popcorn shrimp with it too. So at least you get something a little crunchy, a little saucy. And down south around Louisiana, they got popcorn shrimp called that they put on sandwiches called po' boys. And I figured it'd be something like this. I should have grabbed some baguettes, but I missed the seafood already as it is, so this is the least I can do. So these are just some nice pre-breaded shrimp, a little bit spicy, something that'll go good with the rest of the jambalaya and the flavor. It'll add a nice crunch element later as we're eating it. So do that about maybe 10-15. I'm sure those will finish right about the same time this will. So right now it's gonna be just a bit of the waiting game. We're really just waiting for the chicken to caramelize, for all the fats and juices to end up in the pan as well. So it's gonna take a bit. Got some time here. What can I entertain y'all with about what I know about the South and Southern cuisine? Well, I can tell you that Louisiana, right until the Louisiana Purchase, was half Spanish and half French. And a lot of the folks in Louisiana and France all used to live around there. Meeting around, mingling, exchanging their foods, wondering how do we make the stuff we love but out here. And so that's how there came out countless generations of arguments on how to make jambalaya, how to make paella, how to make all these sorts of things. The Cajun, the Creole style, do you put tomatoes in it, do you not? It's crazy to think it's like all because of our friend Napoleon that all this happened. None of this would have happened if, Louisiana didn't get sold back to us by the French. It's a crazy thing, ain't it? So, alright, our chicken's starting to cook on that other side, so I'll try to give it a flip now. See all that flavor getting soaked into there. Chicken's picking up everything on the pan too, so you get a nice glaze on it as you cook. And there we have it. So, chicken's frying. Gonna just toss these bones in now. And the bones mostly just add a little bit of flavor to the soup itself more than anything. I don't really have to fry those as much. I really just want a lot of the bone flavor, like the collagen, the elasticins, and all the things from the joints and the cartilage to just end up inside of my soup. Alright, so now I've got everything frying up. I added a bit of stock to get any sort of flavors or any food still stuck to the pan all incorporated in. I'm now going to get our rice cooking in that as well too. So I've got about 2 cups of rice here to about 2 cups of stock. So say for today we'll do about 1.5 cups, and I've got 2 cups of stock right there too, so should be just enough. Get that rice all mixed in there. And I'm gonna add a little more stock to everything. Make sure it's just nice and soupy still. Got broth all over your bottom here. Just gonna do it like that. You see all the rice just stirred in there with everything. It's gonna make it nice and thick. Gonna add our tomatoes and our herbs in now too, I'd say. Get those all boiling in with everything and our ham. And now it's just gonna be a continuous process of washing it and stirring it, adding stock. Just keeping an eye on it, but there's already quite a bit of food there. Now imagine when that rice cooks up, this is gonna be nice and thick and chunky. Chunky, copyrighted by Campbell's, but I didn't say that. I said chunky with an extra Y. So, one thing with paella or a dish like this is that you're always just going to be adding stock into it, letting it get to a boil, add stock, compared to some traditional rices where you just add your water and let it boil. You kind of want to go based off of the texture and consistency of your paella or your jambalaya as you're cooking it. You don't want your rice to be undercooked, obviously, but you don't really want it to be too over. So more water. It's all about managing how much liquid you add to it, I'd say, and how long and how high you cook it at, of course. So right now, I think we've got about maybe a few cups of stock to everything with about some of that rice there. I think we got room to add the rest of this. Now, just stir that all in. Crank that heat. Now that we have everything just ready to stew, I'm gonna add some flavorings to our rice right here. So as I said earlier, normally tomato, when it was added to a dish, a Creole dish, would be as a substitute for saffron, but here I have a Filipino saffron substitute that we're gonna use. Just use a little pinch of that. Not quite the same flavor, not quite the same brilliant color, but you still only really need a tiny pinch of it. These are just the little pistils inside of a flower stem that you're essentially throwing in there, but they add so much color. So that's our imitation saffron there. Then a little bit of Cajun spice, which usually has a bit of dried green pepper, red pepper, bell pepper, cayenne, things like that. A little bit of chili. So just add maybe like a tablespoon or so, roughly. A little less, a little more, depending if you'd like it. And that's gonna add a lot of flavor to our stock as well. And of course, there's already a lot of paprika inside Cajun spice, but I like a little extra for the color and for a little extra flavor. So I'm just gonna tab a little bit of that out, maybe an extra little half teaspoon there, and then just right in. So with that, got our herbs and spices mixed in. It's just a matter of waiting for everything to cook now. Now if you take a look real close here, you can already see the rice starting to thicken up a little bit compared to earlier. When I threw it in, it was real opaque, but now you're starting to see that solid white color in it. So in about roughly maybe another 15 minutes or so, this dish should be nice and simmered. All the flavor should be soaking right into the juice, right into the rice. Get that nice, rich, and sticky, like dirty rice flavor. A lot of tomatoes, lots of flavors, herbs, and spice. A little bit of kick from our whiskey jack. Should be a nice treat. We'll just put a little bit of tin foil on there instead of a lid. Fits a little better, and you know, don't have to do the dishes after. And we'll just leave it like that for now. So now I'm just gonna start. All this has been stewing over. I've just been watching it slowly, adding stock to it as it cooks. So that was about 15 minutes or so. I was just watching this pot, adding more soup to it as the rice was cooking. But now as you can see, it's nice and puffy, nice and thick, soupy. It's gonna be a nice and hearty meal. So with that, we're gonna come right across. Get all this right in that bowl here. And that is a nice and very quick and easy way to feed a whole family. 2 cups of rice, maybe about 2 cups of stock, and that's it. And now, I forgot the old specialty of seafood, but got plenty of that here, so got a few of these on top around the edges. Yeah, normally you fry up some shrimp and stew them in there with everything else, or some crawdads and what have you, but man makes what he's got. So I called the audible, and now we got this going on. Not 100% traditional jambalaya, but I'm not actually from that place. So this is my very bad foreign interpretation. Some lemons, some shrimps, however you like it. A little bit of scallion, green onion for some flavor and color. There we have it. Leo's Paella / Jambalaya. So, with that being said, I'm your host, Leo Manahan. That was Cooking with Leo. This is Paella / Jambalaya a la Leo. So, With that, I'd like to thank Pumped Entertainment and Julia Martinez for putting this show together. I'd like to thank Dayton Jans and Austin of 21st Avenue. And I'd also like to thank Brandon for all the oversight today and the help with on set. And I'd like to shout out Steven for giving us all the equipment that we use today. I'm Leo Manahan. Take it easy, y'all. Hi, welcome to this month's Cooking with Leo. I'm your host, Leo Manahan. If you'd like to watch the show, check it out on Jess FM, Jess TV, or Jess Radio. And check it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I think. All the different social medias. So, with all those shout outs out of the way, let's get started on our dish for today.